Today I want to talk about a series of a couple different things, from obedience, systems we follow, the funneling of from education system all the way to where we are today, and just kind of patterns, paradigms, kind of it all. It's a lot of things. So I'm going to try my best to not go on tangents. I'd really like to start this off with the understanding and visual for all of you to kind of visualize right now, watching or listening to this, wherever you are. The world and everything around you is created by no one better than yourself. Steve Jobs, the owner and inventor of Apple, and my condolences, he's been deceased for some years now, has said that himself. Another significant person, Robert Greene, mentions about acts and human behavior and things like that. And the understanding I want to make for you guys and girls about Robert Greene is the act. You wake up in the day and you may or may not be dreading the day. You're like, oh, I got to go to work, or you're like, hey, I got to do this, or you have to do this. And you're typically pessimistic and you're just real. And then you get into that office that maybe your own or someone else's that you're working for. And it's like, oh, hey, Susie, how's it going? How's the flowers that you just got? You don't care about Susie's flowers. Or you're answering the phone. Yeah, how can I help you? Like all ecstatic. But yet, just the other day, maybe your dog just had to get put down or whatever that may be, the adversity. It's like we kind of get into this rhythm of making it seem normal to just let anything and everything that actually matters kind of just disappear. And we made it normal now, especially in America, that your career and your money and these artificial fake things are like at the top of the pedestal and everything else should be away. Oh, you're emotional and you want to cry? That's not normal to cry. You're in the workspace right now. Or, oh, your dog passed away and you're not emotionally stable to teach the kids if you're a teacher. Oh yeah, you got to go away. The kids can't see that. Why are we becoming and normalizing for individuals to not even have a sense of time to actually let out what they're feeling? Because the only answer is the initiative and push is to make sure everyone stays in an act so no one revolts. Everything around you that is not connected to the soil all the way up to in space is considered artificial and fake, which means everything else is made and created by another human being no better than yourself. And I promise you, if there's anything you do not like, you can change it. From after this video, from 5 years, whenever you make the conscious decision to self-develop, build your clarity, buy your time back from financial to all aspects, you're going to be able to create the life that you truly want. Not connected to an identification or a career, but a person that is deserving of everything that gravitates towards them, kind of like the law of attraction. So every time you wake up or you're driving, whatever it may be, everything around you that's not connected to nature is created by a human. So acknowledge that and figure out how you can monetize it. Also, with the acting thing, you sometimes have to play the act. If you just start telling everyone how it is and you start going crazy, especially in the corporate world, you will get fired. You will have people befriend you because they don't respect or appreciate your personal self-beliefs. That's kind of the obedience that the bigger systems and elites want everyone to follow. Myself personally, I don't believe I want to go in the corporate world, and if I do, I want to make sure that I'm accepted. But I prefer to be an entrepreneur and have my own thoughts and my own free speech to give out, because there's a lot of individuals that are not doing what they truly want to do in life because they feel like they're stuck in all these things, and all the things that they think are so superior and important with their problems, which they are very insignificant and can be changed. But they can't change until you do. You yourself is a creator. You are your own God. Everyone's their own God. Whatever you believe in, everyone has the opportunity and has literally the energy and atoms to be able to push towards something to be created. Now it's your decision and your objective to acknowledge that, self-develop, get that clarity so you have an even level playing field. Now where we go wrong is, especially in America, is we create these paradigms and patterns for individuals to follow, and they get connected to identities of, oh, I need a fast car, so I'm a car person, or I like finance, so I'm a financial person. It's never about who are you as a person, your soul, your mind, etc. It's always about your identifications and things that you're connected to. And Americans get stuck in this trap and they never become their own unique individual. They're just a working ant, a working bee, a working any human. But in this case, they're just ruining their potential because they actually have a psych state where they can actually do anything in this world, but they get connected to these paradigms. And I've talked previously before how to get out of paradigms in other previous videos if you want to check that out. If you have the luxury of being in America, it's a luxury to be in a first world country in general with an education system. So first, really don't bash the government or anyone in power. They have created something that can funnel to have us go with minimum anarchy, so appreciate that. But if you feel like you're meant for more, don't be yelling or trying to switch someone else's paradigm that genuinely might be content or happy with something with a job, because it might cause them more stress or make them feel insignificant. But if you do feel yourself that you can do more and your potential is not being fulfilled or used to the extent that you believe it can be, then this video is for you. But the faster you can self-develop and push yourself to your physical, your mental, every aspect of your body in itself to the max, you'll develop the clarity and the intelligence in order to obtain anything you want in this world. But I have to do that first to be able to unlock the opportunity and what it takes to be detached from these patterns and paradigms. Because if you're not the one creating and you're consuming, then you're living life off of someone else's call of action of what you need to do in life. Oh, here's your order, go do this. You have to go work here, or these are your hours. If you don't create yourself as a creator, then you will be a consumer and a worker forever. You're either a leader or you're a follower. And luckily, from today and in our generation, in this time period, first ever in thousands and thousands of years, we have the opportunity at our fingertips, literally off your phone device, to reach out to other people and cultures and area and go completely across the world for a new opportunity. You have that opportunity, but you have to have that discipline and build this self-development for the person that's deserving and able to gravitate towards these things. Let's move to some metrics and statistics. There's about 385,000 newborns and babies born each day, and there's only 4 to 7 million schools. You're like, well, 380,000 and 4 to 7 million schools, that's actually a fair amount. Well, 385,000 per day. What is the rate of schools being built per day? And now a lot of philanthropy and stuff has been really great on actually creating systems in schools to be able to educate more, because I honestly think that is a major, major issue that should be solved, because the more individuals that are educated gives us a higher chance of us being able to work together and understand each other and have a form of communication and thought process to be able to be kind of a collaborative team project for what we need to do in this world. But if we can't even help individuals get food on the table, then the world's worried about survival again, and then back to the first world problems, and then drama, and then self problems, and it just is a constant back and forth. We'll never have the world perfect, and it's never supposed to be perfect, I don't believe, but that's just the reality. And a side note I want to make is, if you are in a first world country or have education at your fingertips, especially your cellular device or whatever you're watching this video on, you should be very grateful, because that is enough to completely change your life and give you the education and the resources needed to be able to obtain it. The faster you self-develop, the faster you'll obtain this stuff. And with the schooling and the newborns and that, the sense that I'm trying to make out of it is try to visualize from when you were a young individual all the way to where you are now. Majority of who you are today is the environment that you are in. Majority of who you are is the pieces and people that have been around you. Who you are today are all of these things that can be calculated and figured out. Now visualize this. You've had the luxury of education system, but think about how many individuals are being funneled out on a daily basis, graduating or just going into school, and they are being trained just like animals, but in this case, we have a psych state that are training everyone to say, oh, you think you like this because the people around you play trade commercials or construction? Oh, so then you think to yourself when you're younger, oh, I like big bobcats. I want to be a machine operator. Or if you're younger and you're surrounded by a bunch of females that are in cosmetics or hair or anything like that, you're going to be like, oh, well, maybe I like things to do with cosmetics and hair. A lot of the things around you, believe it or not, you kind of soak up and you do bits or pieces, and then it all connects the dots of building the character that you want to be in this world that is a facade and an act. So if you can work back and figure out how and why you are who you are today, that is very similar to a simulation. That is very similar to anything that's artificial. Like I said, everything created that's not connected to nature is created by someone no different than yourself. Systems, artificial, fake, which means you play that role. You want to be a business owner? What does a business owner wear? What does a business owner do on a daily basis? Who do they hang out with? Where do they live? And do your own algorithm and statistics and a majority of highlighting what you see a pattern with, and then you procreate that, and you'll be the byproduct of doing so, because you're taking in all aspects of that character, you're becoming it, everything else will follow. Law of attraction. And you have to think big. Stop thinking the world just goes around you, because that is narcissism. Yes, majority of people are narcissistic. Everyone looks after themselves and their offspring and the people around them first, but there's a lot of good narcissism, and you kind of want to acknowledge, I think it's very healthy to have that self-motivation and that self-belief and that kind of thing. There's levels to it, of course. I've seen some very interesting people on both sides of the spectrum. But you have to understand and have that faith and belief in yourself. You can do anything in this world. You have what it takes, biological all the way to your mind and things that we still almost can't explain. So my point of that is think bigger. Don't think just you, your problems, your car broke down, or, oh, you got a pimple on your face, whatever that may be. You want to visualize that there's a whole world and a whole universe out there, and you're just a small piece in it playing it. And if there is or is not something after this lifetime, regardless, flip of the coin, you probably should make the most of it every single time nonetheless. And by thinking big and unpeeling these layers in the world and all these things we have in place, like an onion, the two simple things is, if something is not connected to nature, it is made by a person and a human, no different than yourself. If it is something that is natural, it's something that is meaningful. Natural and nature is like human connection, and those are things to cherish and are irreplaceable. Money can't buy it, things can't buy it. Nothing artificial can obtain it on a true spiritual level, or a level that we honestly almost can't explain. So what I want you to take away from this is, if you just backtracked and you've thought about all of when you were younger to where you are today off these systems, you want to also visualize that if you could be trained and taught of who you are today off of the funneling of education and the environment and things around you, it means you can still change and have what it takes to be able to make something right now. That's why people say the youth and your time is the most important, because when you're young, you aren't in debt, you aren't having these obligations. You can actually change your life and sculpt that painting or that person that you want to become. But when you're older, if you don't have that energy or that time, you don't have that will of what it takes to make that change again. So if you're gonna fail now while you're young, while you're watching this. I'm gonna be off to the gym and get my runs in, and then work some more tonight with marketing and some businesses and a lot of stuff still today. But back to the topic today, the next segment of this I want to talk about is a man that's pretty significant, psychologist and professor at Yale, Stanley Mildred. He was most known for the obedience experiment, and what he wanted to do was, he had a test of several individuals that he would have come in, and there was a teacher and a student. The student would be someone that was an actor that was actually in the facility in another room that was quote unquote being shocked and practically electrocuted with volts. Now the teachers were the people that were brought in that were actually being the ones tested. Now they were tested with a machine that they would hit the volts, and you have to just watch this video to get more context and detail on it. But in conclusion of it, it was absurd of how many individuals would go against the human ethic and morals just because someone that's a scientist said, keep doing it, keep going for the experiment, this has to be done. This has to be done. Now there was a good amount that were like, no man, the person in there he's hollering, he's screaming. I can't keep doing this to him. I don't want to feel obligated or feel responsible for this. But then there were some people that didn't know how to say no. Now I know that's just an experiment, but what is some takeaways that you can take from this and perceive and incorporate in your own life or your philosophy? With our schooling system and the educations like I was talking about, with funneling all these individuals, including yourself here today, we were guided and swayed into where we are today from someone else that had more education and a philosophy of understanding of life more than ourselves. So what is the most powerful thing in this world? It's obviously you and your mind, but what you do with you and your mind. So your health has to be very utmost important, and you have to educate on levels that are absolutely incredibly high, because the higher and more you educate, the more opportunities you'll have and the more power that you will be able to obtain, and hopefully you utilize that in a healthy way. And comparing and listening to a thought experiment like that with obedience, and why and how people will just listen if authority and a task is giving to them, how much that they'll just push away of human ethic, morals, etc., just for the sake of authority. And think about this: how many of you throw away your life of your one time here just because someone else tells you that you have to work, or you have to do this, you have to buy a house, you have to have a family, you have to do this, you have to do that? Always, from when you were younger to where you are today, you've been programmed with paradigms and patterns, especially if you are in a first world country, to think and operate like a worker, not a thinker. Why is it that individuals can't even articulate and conversate remotely close to the same IQ as individuals in the mid 1900s, early 1900s, or even philosophers and absolutely stunning, significant individuals from 15, 16, 1700? How is it that they seemed more educated than we do now, present day? The answer is we are kind of going down. We are at a decline. And the only people that are at a incline are individuals that have held in this knowledge and have held in all of these quote unquote secret education, or whatever you want to say, at these forum boards and all this. These are individuals that have the old reality of knowledge of how things work, and their understanding of life is a lot different than you. You and myself are taught, be good to that person, be honest, be giving. But yet the individuals that are literally the founding fathers of America, or any person in absolute stunning power position, has got there from hypocrisy to what they teach and preach. Why is that? The world is ran by liars, not by the people that say, hey, he did it, I'm a good person, I'm honest. Because I'm sorry to break it to you, the honest people will lose and the liars will win. That is the world that we live in. That's unsettling. They understand that's an act. They don't look at humans like a human. They look at humans like numbers. Everything's about metrics and the trajectory of life and personal gain. It's very, very evil and interesting at that level. But I'm not saying all of them. There's definitely individuals that are trying to play the cards right, but unfortunately, majority of the individuals still have a level of severe narcissism and detachment of human life, honestly, to be able to work those positions and wake up and say, yeah, like this is it. But then again, it's hard to have that topic of how much do you have to be selfless and how much do you have to be selfish? Because if you're completely selfless, you can't help anyone. But if you're a mediocre of selfish and selfless, you probably can help more people than someone that's just on one of those sides of the spectrum. That's another thought and another topic for another day. If there's anything that you girls and guys can take away from this, you as a human have what it takes to do anything in this lifetime. But if you don't acknowledge that you can be controlled just as easy as you creating, you will go one or the other. Especially with AI coming out, it's going to be even worse. You either have to make the decision that you are going to be a consumer, which is a worker and a follower, or you're going to be a creator that is a leader. And there's levels to both. By any means, you don't have to be the richest person. By any means, you don't have to have the happiest life. But I really encourage all of you to self-develop as fast as possible, to get the clarity and education. And all you have to do is educate, educate, educate. There's nothing more important than education. I'm telling you right now, if you're the smartest in the room, you're the most successful in the room. Because you have the understanding of how to do the other things like empathy and feelings and financial. It's overall education, honestly, and your network and your environment. If you become very smart and educated, you work on yourself in all aspects of self-development, you change your environment, I promise you, you will be a person that you never even imagined, at a level that you couldn't even dream of. And the only difference from your goals to your dreams is you have to write them down and have a plan. The moment you write them down and have a plan, that dream becomes a goal, and a goal becomes reality. Thank you all for joining in. I want to talk about this topic again soon, because there's so many tangents I can go on with it of how many individuals we are funneling into these systems. And keep in mind, a person that created the schooling system and the itineraries and stuff that you have to follow, somebody created that. The banks that you put all your money and you trust are making money off of your money, and that's not owned from the government. The majority of banks are privately owned from entrepreneurs and individuals. Corporations and businesses that you get your food from, or you just buy because you want to splurge on yourself for some clothes, are created by another human or individual no better than yourself. The world is ran by thinkers, not the ones that follow and are honest. Basically, the more disobedient you are, the higher the chance that you're going to do your own thing and become a leader. Now, the more obedient you are, the more prone you're going to follow orders, and you're just going to be a worker or a follower. This obedience stuff and the test with Stanley has now been incorporated in our military, our schooling system, you name it. When you're in school, the desks are in line just like military when you're standing, but in this case you're sitting. The bell goes off and it just hits your mind like, oh, now it's time to go, or oh, now it's, class starts. We are programmed at such a young age without even us saying, yes, I agree to it. It's our parents saying, nope, I agree to it, not them. But it's not too late, and you can always change it. But it comes with immense sacrifice. Thank you all for tuning in. I really appreciate it as always. I'm so excited to keep continuously talking about these topics, and hopefully it opens your mind and your philosophies of how you're looking at things, with unpeeling the layers and not just thinking, the single dimensional thinking, and opening it up of like why and how does these things work. And it's going to open your mind and open up opportunities to find what really matters and enhance the chance of you not signing up for a life that you truly do not want, and make the most of the one time here, if it is one time here. Until next time, my friends.